So while the seeds were being sown in India, let's find out how the charism was unfolding in other parts of the world. But we will highlight just three significant moments. For the first one, we need to take a flight to Germany. We all like Germany. You may remember this city, Augsburg, where in 1530, the division between Lutherans and Catholics was affirmed, and close to which, in Otmari, Chiara inaugurated a center for ecumenical life in the 60s that developed into a mini city inhabited by Catholics and Lutherans. This endeavor, which began in the 60s, got recognition in 1988 when Chiara received the prestigious Peace of Augsburg Award. This acknowledgement for the movement's commitment to ecumenism based on the dialogue of life was just the beginning of some very noteworthy events which took place and which are taking place in Europe today. But on this, we will come back after this short clip.
In 1988 in Augsburg, Germany, Chiara received the Peace of Augsburg Award in recognition of the Focolare movement's constant commitment to promote ecumenical dialogue. A commitment which way back from the 60s has intensified, making of Chiara a true apostle of unity among the churches. It gave rise to an ecumenism typical of the Focolare, based on the dialogue of life, which, together with the theological and doctrinal dialogue, aims at helping to achieve full communion among the churches.
This dialogue of life is essential for us because we are not divided only by doctrine. We don't know one another. We must live together in order to know one another and become friends. I am very grateful to the Focolarini who offer a good example, a model of this ecumenism of life and friendship.
Tu sei fra noi, Gesù, perché noi siamo uniti nel tuo nome.
You are among us, Jesus, because we are united in your name. We love one another in you, and we are here so that another step may be taken towards the unity of the churches. Certainly, we are aware of what has taken place in past centuries, terrible, painful centuries that have wounded your heart. For this reason, Jesus, we ask your forgiveness for all that happened in the past. And our voice wants to represent that of all the Christians who have gone before us. On behalf of them too, we ask your forgiveness. Jesus, we realize that your love and your mercy surpass all that took place and all that may take place in future centuries. Allow us then to be your instruments together with many others who are working for unity. Grant that we may live the years we have left so that all may be one.
Tutti siano uno.
Just after a year of this event at which Chiara spoke, on 31st October 1999 in Augsburg, there was the historical signing of the joint declaration on the doctrine of justification between the Roman Catholic Church and the Lutheran World Federation. On that same evening, leaders of several movements and communities, both Catholic and Lutheran, who were present at this solemn function, including Chiara, met at the Ecumenical Center of Otmaring. Through a powerful experience of communion, they were inspired to begin a journey of fellowship based on a profound act of asking each other forgiveness for the past and paving the way towards the reconciliation and mutual love. A few months later, these leaders met again to foster their relationships and strengthen the journey they had begun. At the invitation of Chiara Lubeck, Helmut Nicholas of the YMCA Munich, Father Marman of Schoenstatt Movement, and other ecumenical leaders, a approximately 5,000 members of various movements and communities belonging to different churches came together for a meeting at the Catholic Cathedral in Munich. Once again, there was such a deep experience of fellowship in Christ that the idea of giving visibility to this experience of brotherhood lived in Europe was born. They started to plan a large-scale event calling this journey Together for Europe. In 2004, for the first time in history, more than 180 Christian movements and communities from Catholic, Evangelical, Orthodox, and Anglican churches came together for this large-scale meeting in Germany. There were more than 9,000 participants with the objective of building a more united Europe by putting the charisms of movements and communities at the service of humanity. So while big events continued every 3 to 4 years, numerous initiatives were also planned, promoting reconciliation and peace, life and creation, a just economy, solidarity with the poor and marginalized, brotherhood in Europe. Currently, over 300 movements and communities are involved in Together for Europe, attracting entrepreneurs, young people, priests, and pastors as an endeavor, as Chiara says, to give Europe a soul that could generate a strong spiritual unity. And in view of what's happening currently, we see how initiatives like this are very important to foster brotherhood. Talking about unity and visionaries like Chiara, there is something extremely important that took off in the 80s, something that connects us even today. Yuta mentioned it in the beginning. Let's see if you guess what it is.
The fruits of the ideal sown all over the world return, composing the 30 minutes of information that make up the conference. During these times, marked by the development of mass media, the movement uses them at the service of unity. The New City Publishing Houses, the Mariopolis Newsletter, the St. Clair's Media Center, the Informatics Center. The information services are growing.
Hello, everyone. I'm Annabelle from Mumbai. We saw briefly how this conference call, or link up, as we call it today, emerged during the 80s. And many of us who have known the Focolare for a few years know how important this call is for our local and global community. The Link Up conference call is presently held every 2-3 months by the Center of the Focolare in Rome. And it is a strong moment of unity for everyone who lives the gospel values all over the world. It is our appointment with our global family and something we all look forward to eagerly. It is easy to connect over the internet today, like we do with our family and friends over WhatsApp and Zoom, etc. But back in the 80s, when Chiara started this, international calls were not so common. And hence, Chiara was a pioneer in that sense. The first Link Up call was held on the 11th of August, 1980, which is the feast of Saint Clare of Assisi, an important feast for Chiara as she took her name from Saint Clare, which is Chiara in Italian. Chiara was in Switzerland, and the call was organized from Chiara's Focolare in Rome. The idea was to connect the two Focolares, Rome and Switzerland, and share their experiences in living unity. But the Focolarina who are organizing this call soon realized that in Switzerland, one could connect with different countries, not just Italy, with more countries. Soon there were tens of cities and countries connected over this call, and the motive was to give a thrust to this holy journey. And hence, for a whole decade, the conference calls were held every 2 weeks. In the following years, as technology advanced, these calls included video recordings and live streaming too, as it happens today. Today, when we cannot meet in person, we realize the value of these means of communication more than ever. But Chiara envisioned this call way back in the 80s as a way of strengthening and encouraging this life of unity. Let's hear from Chiara herself how the Holy Spirit inspired her to start this call and what it means really to the Focolare and to all of us.
This conference call, can everybody hear? So we thought of doing this because we are just the one Focolare.
Proprio nell'anno 80 nasceva.
This conference call of ours was born right in 1980. As we know, it aimed at making us live a holy journey. A journey, therefore, towards holiness.
Ecco, vi passo Chiara.
So I'll put you on to Chiara.
Cari miei, dobbiamo fare un giro.
Dearest all, we have to take a trip around the world. It will be quite a long trip.
Los Angeles, are you there?
You're having the Gen meeting. You must greet all of them for me.
Thailand, Luigi and Lucardente.
Greetings to Lucardente.
Greetings to Mama Chiara.
We are in very close contact with one another. For example, every month we link up with the whole world. It's a telephone conference call during which I give a strong spiritual message which we all live together. And then my companion, Eli, tells about things that happen during the month. So everything belongs to everyone. Everything belongs to everyone.
What is the link up for you, Chiara?
Ah, il paradiso.
It's paradise. It's an enormous joy. I understood that it's almost greater than the joy that comes from unity. I wondered why. In a certain sense, we participate not only in unity, in the church as one, but also in the universality of the church, because the whole world is involved here, and participating not only in the unity of the church, but also in its universality gives enormous joy. Afterwards, when I return home, we all celebrate.
This universality or global nature of the link-up call that Chiara spoke about has become even more important after her passing away. The call has always been organized from the center in Rome, but now more than ever, the focus is on bringing stories of unity and lived gospel values from all over the world, not just Italy or Europe. I was fortunate to be part of the international team that produces the Link Up Call through a project called Breaking Rays in 2018. We were 6 of us from India, Marcello, Donald, and myself from Mumbai, Zen, a Muslim friend from Delhi, Joshua from Bangalore, and Eileen, a Gen girl from Goa. Breaking Rays is a project to counter the existing culture of sensational breaking news with the power of positive stories to break into our gloomy world like the first rays of sunlight. The idea behind involving local communicators like the 6 of us from India is to bring about experiences from all parts of the world. The project was spread across 1 year in 3 workshops held in Italy, Brazil, and culminating with the Gen Fest in Manila, Philippines. At first, I was apprehensive of what I could contribute skill-wise to this big project of the Link Up Call, because it is in audio video format, and my professional experience so far is in print journalism. So I was not sure. However, after taking a leap of faith and forging many professional bonds with the Global Link Up team and other Breaking Race participants, I realized that the project of communicating stories about unity is much more than skills and talents. It is about putting in common our nothingness to let Jesus in the midst work through us. For example, I was overjoyed when I was asked to interview Emmaus and Jesus at their visit to the GenFest in Manila. However, my excitement died down when I realized that I had to stand between Emmaus and Jesus, asking them questions in English, and they replied in Italian. Uh, I I thought it was a bit strange, and I was a bit uncomfortable. But when I saw the final cut, I realized that I agreed with the team that this was more authentic and representative, because I had done the groundwork of gathering questions from the Gen present at the Gen Fest. So it was more honest for me to ask than for someone else to ask translated questions. Hence, transcending the borders of culture, language, and even skills, I learned to value the message of unity that Jesus presents through our work, rather than focusing too narrowly on the work itself. We'd like to share with you some glimpses of our the project Breaking Race. Everyone remembers this last picture of the Breaking Race team, with the team of the communicators with this big satellite dish in the background. That's has a very good experience linked to it, because back in the 80s, today the conference call is held over the internet. So there's not much use of this big dish. But back in the 80s, when it was used, communicated over satellite, uh, this dish was installed in Chiara's house in Rome, really in front. As soon as you enter her house, you can see this big dish. And one of the visitors to Chiara's house told her that, that what is this big ugly thing here? Maybe you should put it behind the house somewhere. And she said, no, it's not ugly. It's actually quite beautiful because it helps unite this global family of the Focolare. So it's doesn't look great, but it's very useful and very beautiful. So just to tell you how much the link up call meant to Chiara and how much it means to all of us. Continuing with my experience with Breaking Race, I'd like to share with you how this experience has changed my approach to my work in my day-to-day life. The focus on this grand picture that goes beyond my own professional interest has been the real gift of the Breaking Race experience for me. It is through this experience that I realize the power of sharing values through lived experience and the great responsibility I have as a journalist and a communicator in helping people see the truth and be inspired by lived values. For instance, I work as a real estate journalist, and my job is to track property prices, home loan rates, things like that. To give a human touch to this subject, I often interview people who have bought homes and publish details about how much they paid for their home, how much is their monthly EMI, etc. This is sensitive information, and I understand that some people are happy to share and some are not happy to share this information. And so I make sure that I take the full informed consent of a family before I publish this details, unlike it is in the media industry and some journalists who try to extract this information through dishonest means. So I try to be more honest to the family or to the person I am talking to. Also, my attitude to work, colleagues, and teammates has changed based on what I learned in the few weeks I spent with the International Link Up team. For example, we have a colleague who is exceptionally good as a journalist with facts and data, but has poor communication skills because she comes from a non-English speaking background. This often led to a lot of conflict in the team as we had to spend extra time to polish her work and edit her reports for basic English. However, we try to look for a solution in the spirit of team unity rather than blame one another and find faults. Working around our individual strengths and weaknesses with trust and transparency has helped our team productivity, especially in this time of remote working. Today, I also have the opportunity to write for the Focolare newsletter, Living City. Many of you will be familiar with it. And I even teach an online course in journalism to the teens of the Focolare. I'd like to invite each one of you to share your lived experience, write your experiences and share it with the Living City editorial team. I invite you to get in touch with your Focolare or the Focolarina you are in contact with and really give of yourself through your lived experience so that we can publish in Living City and so that we can inspire the readers of Living City to continue this life of unity.
Excellent. Thank you, Annabelle, and thank you for the invitation, which is thrown open to many. At the last session, we presented to you one of the co-founders, Bishop Klaus Hemmerle, who was not only instrumental in bringing to life the branch of Bishop Friends of the Movement, but also in the late 80s, he encouraged Chiara to start an interdisciplinary study center, which was familiarly called the Abba School. Actually, its roots go back to that period of special graces during the summer of 1949. At that time, besides communicating the mystical experiences she was living to a small group that was with her, Chiara wrote in the form of notes and letters what was being revealed to her. These notes form the text of the members of the Abba School. Since 1991, this study center had regular sessions with Chiara to assess the spiritual legacy of the movement so as to elaborate in the light of the Christian tradition the doctrine it contained and its application to different fields of research and disciplines. The Abba School includes professors and researchers who work in diverse fields from theology, philosophy, psychology, to mathematics, literature, education, medicine, natural sciences, etc. The sessions of the Abba School with Chiara, but even today, begin with a pact in which each one declares his or her readiness to give their lives spiritually and intellectually out of love. It required the readiness to suspend or let go of one's own way of thinking in order to enter into the thought of the other. And from this exchange, new intuitions and perspectives emerge. The fruits of this luminous experience are offered in various ways through articles, conferences, study courses, where Focolare members who work in academic environments across the world enter into and learn from the work of others in their own field and profit from the interdisciplinary exchange. From 2001 to 2007, the Abba School conducted summer schools for young people as an experimental project in applying its methodology to university level study. We also had one student from India who participated at these summer schools. The success of this pilot project led to the inauguration of Sophia University Institute in October 2008, offering master's, PhD, and postdoctoral courses. A university was part of Chiara's prophetic intuition when Lopiano was born, and she saw it in the making before she left for heaven. Here's a glimpse into the university.
And now let us go over to Lopiano, the little town of the Focolare movement in Italy, where Sophia University Institute is based. Lopiano, we can say, has a very unique DNA as an innovative global town that has been incubating new concepts of dialogue and unity.
The Sophia University Institute, founded by Chiara Lubick in 2007, brings onto an academic level the experience of the dialogue of life born from her charism. It's an ongoing workshop for dialogue that's interdisciplinary, intercultural, and interreligious.
Sono Hiro, giapponese, buddhista e studio filosofia.
I'm Hiro, from Japan. I'm a Buddhist and I study philosophy. I'm a PhD student doing research on Trinitarian ontology in comparison with Mahayana Buddhism to contribute to a culture of encounter, especially between different religions.
Sophia mi offre uno sguardo fondamentale.
Being here gives me a fundamentally important insight into interreligious dialogue.
Mi aiuta a capovolgere l'impostazione del mio pensiero.
It helps me change the way I think and helps me think of and do concrete acts of love for others.
Per me è una chiave.
For me, it is like a key and a light to understand and live in relationships with people of different faiths.
Experiencing dialogue between people of different religions, studying dialogue as a subject in itself and discovering through academic research new pathways for solidarity between people of different beliefs.
Sophia è un'università del dialogo.
Sophia is a university founded on dialogue, and therefore its work, its thinking and its action is guided at all levels by the logic of dialogue. Perhaps this is the reason why so many students of different religions come here to study not only interreligious dialogue, but also other disciplines: politics, economics, education and sociology. They want to have a dialogical experience. This experience is possible also thanks to our active collaboration with academic institutions of other religions, such as those linked to the Gandhian world or to various expressions of Buddhism or of Islam, and also the Jewish world. This collaboration is not only active and effective, but builds genuine friendship.
What became clear is this new type of study at Sophia comes from living a new lifestyle within the student community. Hey Arush, you shared with me before how incredible Sophia has been for you. Can you share with everyone here?
I come from Pakistan, from a Christian family, but things are not always easy in Pakistan between Christian and Muslims. So sharing my room with an Indian girl from a Muslim background I thought it would be impossible. But because it's at Sophia, we study this thought of creating a united world. I thought, let's try it, let's give it a go. I realized that most of the things that we never do are just out of fear. I can tell you, we were more than friends, we were more than sisters, because I think we know and we love each other beyond our differences. We love each other as and for we are.
Wow, that's really incredible. Thank you.
So as you've seen at Sophia, we've already had 4 Indian students, of whom one is doing her doctoral program. You saw her in the photos just a while ago. Her name is Farah Iman. She has been actively engaged in interfaith dialogue in Delhi, has a master's degree in conflict analysis and peace building from Jamia Millia Islamia, Delhi, and is one of the founding members of and General Secretary of the Sarva Dharma Samvad, All Religions Dialogue, also based in Delhi. It's interesting to see Sophia from her perspective. She wasn't able to be here, so she sent us a video. And it's interesting to see how she compares it to a Muslim madrasa.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, I'm Farah Iman and I'm doing my PhD from Sophia University. And I got to know Sophia in Grad World Week, which was a program organized by Shanti Ashram and Focolare. In Sophia, I'm doing my PhD on interfaith dialogue, foundations of interfaith dialogue in Christianity and Islam from the perspective of Pierre Buddha and Maulana Mehdi Khan. These are two scholars. Maulana Mehdi Khan is based in Delhi, and Pierre Buddha is a Christian theologian and philosopher, and he's also at Sophia University. I would like to share my experience of Sophia with you guys. Sophia is just like any other university, but it has different feel to it, in a sense that it does not only provide you degrees just like any other university, but it also prepares you for it prepares you, it forms you for this life, and I believe that life after death also. In fact, I would say that the reason why Sophia is the way it is, it's because of the intention of the founders and the fragrance of Chiara Lubick, which is beautiful fragrance, and it is we can feel in all the Focolare people, and the piano is a location. It is a location where Sophia is located. And so you must be thinking that as a Muslim, do I believe in Christian saints? So my answer is yes, I do, because I believe that they are the roses of different garden, and we are cousins. And in fact, I tell my father that I learned Islam in Sophia because the mannerism and the character of the people over there is the way that Muslims should live. And if I talk about the classes of Sophia, classes schedule and education system, then I would say that Sophia provides it provides opportunity and freedom of expression for every students and every individual in a way that it allows you, not only allows you to explore yourself and your ideas, but also it allows you to present those ideas to others, especially in different programs called Condivisione, where students and teachers, they share their ideas. And in fact, my father, he completed his education from the Deoband Madrasa, and when I was telling him what we studied, then he said it is very much like Madrasa. So I call them that the Sophia is a Christian Madrasa where Muslim students also study. So in fact, I'm very glad and so lucky that I'm part of Sophia University and part of Focolare, Alhamdulillah. Yeah, that's it. This is all I would like to share.
Thank you, Farha, for that short intervention. But if you know of young people who want a high quality education and a unique experience, Sophia is one place you can speak to them about. Over to you, Brian.
While in the 80s, life was blossoming with the emergence of new realities and recognition, God called to himself one of the choicest flower of the movement, the first co-founder who was instrumental in the pact that opened Paradise 49, Eugenio Giordani, as we called him, Foco. He lived an intense life of sanctity, and his last years he made himself available to all, especially the young generation. Many times you would find him surrounded by the Gen 3 who would sit next to him and drink of his wisdom. He addressed them all as Chiara. That's what we saw, that's what he saw in them. On April 18, 1980, Foco left for Paradise. He is now recognized by the Catholic Church as a servant of God. Chiara describes his life as a flight of God, and she praises him as a man of all beatitudes. He welcomed the charism like a true child of the gospel, turning his life into an unimaginable divine adventure. He was a great writer and very articulate and profound in his thoughts. We leave with you, we leave the taste of it, a poem entitled, written by him, I Have Resolved to Die. This is taken from the diary, dated 9 July 1951.
I have started dying to myself, and whatever happens no longer matters to me. Now, I wish to disappear in the abandoned heart of Jesus. All this toiling with avarice and for vanity disappears in love. I have regained my freedom. I have started dying to myself, to this death which dies no more. Now, I wish to enjoy with God His eternal youth, with Him.